My name is Tempest Roque. This is my video discussion response. I don't feel like Osiris, also known as Asur, the king of Kemet, and Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, had too many similarities, besides the fact that they were both rulers of their kingdom, and they were both gods. I feel like they had a lot of differences. I feel Osiris loved his wife Aset, also known as Iris. He felt like the heart was the seat of the soul. He came up with the 42 declarations of innocence as a guide for his people to follow so that when they died, their souls could have heavenly reward in the afterlife. He also developed the Ma'at ritual, which there was a vessel that represented the dead's heart, and it was weighed against the feather, which represented the principles of truth, justice, righteousness, and reciprocity. I feel like he felt like his people should never defile the wife of any man. They should never steal, behave violently, fornicate, deal with rage, or deal deceitfully. On the other hand, I feel like Gilgamesh did the exact opposite. He took advantage of his people by sleeping with newly married brides. He exhausted the men through games, tests of strength. He had them go into labor on building projects. The people started to cry out, so the god sent down a primitive male who was supposed to be equal of Gilgamesh, who was Enkidu. And once Gilgamesh found out about this, he dealt deceitfully when he sent out the Shamhat temple prostitute harlot to seduce Enkidu. When Enkidu found out about Gilgamesh's ways and they had this big intense fight, they ended up being friends, and I feel like Enkidu was the only other person that Gilgamesh cared about. And once Enkidu died, Gilgamesh just lost it. He was scared of death. He was infused with rage. He really didn't care for his people. He left to go find immortality and find out how he can be immortal for the rest of his life. As far as explaining the presence of these stories thousands of years before Christianity existed, I feel like all it was is God reaching out to Osiris in his time frame when he ruled, and he installed in him the 42 declarations of innocence. And out of those 42 declarations of innocence, when Moses was raised up in Kemet, which is Osiris's original kingdom, which is known as today's Egypt, the Pharaoh, who was raised under Asur's practices, was able to teach those things to Moses, and Moses had access to all of these different things and all of the different scribes that came before him. When Moses developed his relationship with God, I feel like all they did was revise it from 42 declarations to the 10 commandments, because they have a lot of similarities. Thou shalt not steal, kill, fornicate, adultery. So I feel like there were a lot of similarities, and I just feel like God spoke to each individual in their time frame, and that individual took what they got from Jesus or God, and they passed it on to their children, who passed it on to their children's children, and so forth and so on, and it just got revised at the time as the time frames progressed. As far as the the implications that can be drawn about the Christian Bible from these mythologies, I feel like a lot of people can misconstrue it and feel like, oh yeah, well, Moses never spoke to Jesus and got the 10 commandments because the 42 declarations were already there. But the 42 declarations, God could have given to Osiris and then came and gave Moses 10. Because at that moment in time, in Moses' time, 42 may have been too much, or whatever reason there may have been behind it. I feel like a lot of things are similar between the two stories, especially when you have the story of Gilgamesh when he met Utnapishtim, and he told him about how the god Ea came to him and told him how there was going to be a flood and he needed to build a boat, and him and his family and the animals went in the boat. That's the same similar story as Noah's Ark, where God came to Noah and told him about the flood, and Noah built the boat and he put his family and the animals in the boat. Those are a lot of similarities, but I feel like those are both messages. In that time frame, God gave those people their 10 commandments, which was the 42 declarations of innocence. And those people didn't follow by those things. And because they didn't follow by those things, they had, which was back then, a Noah's Ark experience with Utnapishtim, where the flood and the people turned to clay and they died off, and a new era of men were born. And then you have Noah's Ark, where the people didn't follow the Ten Commandments. And once again, God sent the flood to kill the people off, where a new era of man was born. I feel like there are a lot of similarities from then to today. And I feel like they are really all based on Christianity. And I feel like that is why it is such a big religion today, because it was unfightable. And no matter how much they wanted to put a cap on it and make it illegal, there's no way to do that when something so strong happened so many thousand years ago and is still present in today's world.